some conversation going on before we have the start of the programme. This is Show Me the Money, your weekly guide to who's making the cash, how they're doing it and what it means for the way we work. With us tonight, he was a smash hit when he worked in magazines. Now Sir David Arculus is banking on a new career. He's chairman of the brand new business bank Aldermore. And shopping entrepreneur Diana Bird says Happy Father's Day to her dad, John. He, of course, is the founder of The Big Issue. Well, the big developing story tonight, will Greece get its latest bailout check in time? Finance ministers from across Europe have been meeting in Luxembourg today. Also there, officials from the International Monetary Fund, that's the group which bails out troubled nations. They're talking about the last £10 billion slice of the £100 billion bailout that Greece was promised last year. Well, Greece needs that cash by July to pay back old debts, but the IMF was unwilling to pay up because it thought Greece hadn't cut its spending quickly enough. Well, many people in Greece took a different view to that. There were riots at the idea that more cuts were needed to get that last payment. On the IMF shopping list, a sale of state-owned businesses, more cuts to pensions and fewer new civil service jobs. Well, we're keeping an eye on Luxembourg for a briefing by some of those senior European officials, and we'll bring you some of that as soon as it happens. Let's talk now, though, to the economist Greene. She's been following the crisis in Greece since the start, and she's in the BBC's business newsroom for us this evening. Megan, good evening. Ministers expected to approve this last slice of the first bailout in return for greater cuts. Is the Greek government strong enough to deliver further cuts?
I don't think that the Greek government will manage to deliver all of the cuts that are incorporated into this medium-term program for two reasons. One is that the government still has a lot of opposition within it. There are a number of traditional PASOK members who are completely opposed to these austerity measures, not to mention opposition parties in Greece. But on top of that, as you've seen, the public isn't behind this. And so the government has, the Prime Minister has managed to reshuffle his cabinet, but I think he's really only bought a few more months in power. I think that probably this will all come to a head quite soon.
Indeed, a few more months, because Greece, of course, got this money because it said it couldn't afford to borrow on the markets. It hoped the price of borrowing on the markets would have fallen by now, and that hasn't happened. So now we're talking about possibly a second bailout for Greece.
That's right. Greece will absolutely need a second bailout. It was meant to return to the markets next year, but there's no way that it's going to be able to do that. The same, by the way, is the case in Ireland. And so Greece will need a second bailout in order to meet its debt servicing costs until 2013, when this European Stability Mechanism, the ESM, will be implemented. And according to that, there will be sort of an orderly, managed way for countries to default on their debt or to restructure their debt.
All this money that we're giving to Greece, will it ever pay it back?
I think some of it will be repaid. I think it's pretty inevitable that Greece will have to restructure its debt ultimately. Right now we're looking at a possible rollover of Greek debt in the short term. Germany had been hoping to impose some more costs on private investors, but I think even if right now there's a so-called soft restructuring of Greek debt, eventually there will be a hard restructuring of Greek debt, and there will be a haircut imposed on Greek government debt of around 45%, I think. And so ultimately I think investors won't be receiving everything that they've lent to the Greek government.
Okay, Megan Greene, thanks very much. Well, as Megan suggested there, if Greece does ask for this second bailout, the banks which loaned money to Greece might be told they're not getting all their cash back. Germany had insisted on this pretty strongly during the week, though on Friday it backed away in favour of some sort of voluntary delay to repayments. If that happened, the big losers would be banks in Germany and in France. They've loaned around £25 billion to the Greek government. Let's talk to Sir David Arculus with your hat